So, continuing with the theme of me just having weird ideas for football manager experiments, I wanted to see what would happen if I created the worst goalkeeper of all time and stuck them on Manchester City. Because I want to see what's going to happen if the worst goalkeeper of all time can potentially tank Man City and get them relegated. So this is our worst goalkeeper of all time. I have just changed Ederson's stats to be all one. So he is the worst goalkeeper that you could possibly be. Looking at his hidden attributes, his current ability is one and his potential ability is one. I've also changed his height and weight to be the lowest possible in the game. So he is now 150 centimeters or 4'11, and he is 50 kilograms or 110 pounds. So he is the worst goalkeeper possible, and he's also tiny, which I think is going to be hilarious to look at in the animation. But otherwise, the rest of the city squad is insane, and of course, they are insanely good. We are just going to go with a vertical tiki taka. We're going to stick it on positive. They should be a really good team. I mean, this is still a team that, at least in this version of the game, was just coming off the treble. In real life, they won the league. This is still a league winning team with the likes of Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Gvardiol. Like, this is still an absolutely insane team. Even with having the worst goalkeeper of all time, they're still projected to finish first. They should still win the league. I have no idea what's going to happen. How bad can the worst goalkeeper ever be? Like, Man City's squad should still be good enough that they shouldn't allow many chances. So in theory, they should do pretty well still. I mean, maybe they'll drop to like fourth position. I wouldn't expect them to go below fourth. If they go below fourth, I would say that the worst goalkeeper ever really take them. And if they somehow, which there's part of me that's hoping that they just get tanked and get relegated, that would be absolutely insane. But then the worst goalkeeper ever would probably have to allow every single shot that they come up against. More realistically, they'll drop between fourth and sixth positions, maybe seventh. They'll still be really good, but I don't know. I mean, their team is just so good. They can't be that bad, even with the worst goalkeeper ever. And as an aside, just in case Ederson here gets injured, I have made the other two goalkeepers in the squad, which are Scott Carson and Stefan Ortega. I've also made them the worst goalkeepers ever, just to make sure that the worst goalkeepers ever are playing. I'm also going to, since I'm the manager, I'm going to hard lock Ederson in here just to make sure that he's always the one playing and they're always playing the worst goalkeeper. That way, my assistant manager can't go sign a better goalkeeper in the January transfer window and completely tank this experiment. But otherwise, that's pretty much everything. It's a bit weird today. It's a pretty simple experiment, but I'm going to simulate one season and let's see what happens to Manchester City. We are at the end of the season. Man City finished 10th. They had 14 wins, 10 draws, and 14 losses. And in all 14 losses, they allowed 3 goals or more, pretty much, except one. That's insane. The worst goalkeeper ever absolutely tanked them. We broke the universe. Man United finished first. That's crazy. This is such a weird world. The other Manchester team who we were not expecting to do well finished first. Everton made the Europa Conference League. Newcastle finished second. Fair play to them. This is insane. And because I'm curious, Man City here tied for the third top goal scorers in the league. But they had a +3 goal differential. Looking at the allowed goals here, they were in the top 5 for allowed goals in the league. They allowed 77 goals. So even though they scored 80 goals in the season, which should have been enough to do really well, they allowed 77. And they are worse than their XG table. They're, oh, wow, +34 for the XG allowed. This means they allowed 34 more goals than expected and finished 11 points less than they expected. The next worst team was +15 from Luton. They are way above the expected, the expected goals allowed is insane. They should have only allowed 43 goals in theory across the season, and they allowed 77. The worst goalkeeper ever must have performed horribly for them. All right, let's take a look at what we got. So we got Ederson here, worst goalkeeper ever. He allowed 77 goals on a 6.48 average rating, and he only had 4 shutouts for Man City throughout the season. If you guys can see that at the bottom, he allowed 88 goals overall. That's insane. So how did they do throughout the season? Looking throughout, they played a lot of games. They won the Community Shield. So they won the UEFA Super Cup, so they still won stuff. They got knocked out in the Carabao Cup third round. Looking at the champ, they still technically did a sort of treble, which is funny. I mean, it's like the worst treble possible. It's the Community Shield, the Super Cup, and the Club World Championship, but they still won 3 trophies. But they were knocked out in the round of 16 to Inter, so they did pretty poorly. And a lot of draws and losses throughout the season. So the worst goalkeeper ever, really, like genuinely tanked Man City. That's crazy. I got to see the data hub and just look up goalkeeping. I don't even really know. We're just going to go goalkeeping here. Looking at the goalkeeping, they're so bad. They're so bad. A leaky defense. They are bad. So actually, this is interesting because this is saying that City don't allow a lot of shots per game, but they concede. This is exactly what we were expecting. A defense that concedes a lot of goals despite not allowing a lot of shots. Yeah, that tells us that the keeper is terrible. I don't even know what the goalkeeping metrics are in the data hub. I've never looked at them, but let's go. So we saw this one. Let's look at goalkeeping, goalkeepers. Oh, fewer saves, fewer shots. He has a terrible save percentage and a terrible saves per 90 minutes. He's so far away from everyone else. Like there's a cluster. Who's still really good? Daniel Bentley, you are phenomenal, apparently. But there's the cluster of goalkeepers right here. Our worst goalkeeper ever is a huge outlier. It even says he's considerable outliers. He makes fewer saves per 90 and has a poorer save ratio. That's hilarious. What about this advanced goalkeeping? He's not even in the picture. He's off the graph. We've broken the game. Can you guys see that at the bottom? This is our worst goalkeeper. He's not even on the graph. Every single player is here. And then our worst goalkeeper is off the graph. It's a real outlier. So much so that he hasn't even made it onto the grid. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in Football Manager. This is phenomenal. I'm going to go through here and I'm going to do a little compilation of some of the goals that our worst goalkeeper allowed just because I think the animation is going to funny. So I'm going to roll that now. And that is everything we have for this Football Manager experiment. This was awesome. This was hilarious. The data hub graph was the absolute funniest thing I've seen. But this is the worst goalkeeper ever at Man City. Yeah, having the worst goalkeeper absolutely tanked them. Some of the goals they allowed were terrible. But the fact that they finished 10th, I would say, that counts as the worst goalkeeper ever destroying Man City. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this Football Manager experiment. It was a simple, but I think it was a pretty funny one. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves and having a wonderful week. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.